talk to you. Please look at the youth of Nigeria. We are really suffering.
Politics plays its part in everything that defines us as a sovereign entity. Isn't it right to discuss what makes it tick? When the main actors converge in the power corridors to make decisions that affect the next meal, shouldn't we probe even deeper?
Nigeria is suffering. The suffering is too much.
When it comes to the complexities of politics, we strive to give it clarity, to deepen your understanding as the listener.
The decisive factor will be knowledgeable leadership committed to good governance.
Make it a date with Oᴏ and Saeed Fuad on Midweek Politics every Wednesday from 1 to 3 p.m. on your top dial, Mainland 98.3 FM. Politics, it's a whole meal.
Political enemies, they don't want you to succeed. Have you just realizing that? No matter what I do, they will still abuse me.
A very good afternoon to you. Welcome to Midweek Politics, live from Mainland 98.3 FM. I want to trust that your day has been going well. Our studio time check is 3 minutes past the hour of 1 o'clock, and it's always a pleasure to have you join us on this conversation every Wednesday from 1 to 3 p.m. Away from your regular political conversation you get to hear on radio or you watch on TV, or the discussion you get to engage with on social media, or you read from the pages of the newspapers. I will bring you the very best of everything, in-depth analysis on pure political stories, and none can be bigger than the build-up to the 2027 election, the politicking that is going on, the politics itself, from the from the ADC to the Labour Party to the PDP to the APC, the individuals involved, every single interest and every single details you need to get as regards the conversation of election, leadership, accountability within the public and even the private space. I would always start it from here. Good to have you join us. My name is Oᴏ L쏘ɪʟ. If this is the first time you're joining us, I say you're welcome to the house. It's a production of Mainland 98.3 FM that comes up on the airwaves every Wednesday from 1 to 3 p.m. And our other political programs every Mondays to Fridays from 4 to 5:30 p.m. The Situation Room on Friday, the Yoruba version of the show called Oroilu, of course, and on Sunday, Political Roundtable, one of the very biggest, where Saeed Fuad and his league of analysts would always come together to drive the conversation on trending topical issues, as you can't afford to miss that 120 minutes every Sunday from 6 to 8 p.m. Also on your super dial Mainland 98.3 FM. Of course, I would always break the ice with you in the morning with Mainland Focus. I would always look into the pages of the newspapers, would also help you understand the intricacies of all of the things that may look confusing to you, so that will move you from the stage of confusion to conviction, just like one of your presidential candidates will say, from consumption to production. It's a pleasure to have you join us on the show today. Saeed Fuad is here, and last week Wednesday, the conversation was mainly around are some of the things that a lot of people are probably avoiding, a conversation that many people don't even want to get involved with. But hey, today we're also going to take you on a long journey, the one that involves some of your issues, especially conversation on the neutrality of the electoral body, the electoral management body of Nigeria, which is INEC, has had its leadership structure questioned over time with the appointment of the chairman of INEC, the neutrality. For weeks now, the debate on whether the chairman of INEC had always at any time displayed partisan politics or loyalty to the really not progressive Congress. There was a tweet that was referred to, as a comment a few years back, where there was a tweet by the national youth leader of the All Progressive Congress, Iṛsᴛ, and then allegedly, although INEC had come out to present forensic evidence that the Twitter handle does not belong to the chairman of INEC, and he said he does not have a functional Twitter handle, but the comment on Iṛsᴛ's post was "Victory is sure." And that was the line that seems to, have, in quotes now, scattered everywhere as questions were being asked in respect to how neutral is Professor Josh Amopitan SAN in terms of, being the chairman of INEC. But a lot of people had also questioned that maybe it's time we sit back and start asking questions around how the chairman of INEC is being selected or appointed. In this case, how the 36 state resident electoral commissioners are appointed also by the president. Even the INEC commissioners now, 6 of them across the 6 geopolitical zones. These are fundamental questions that many people had brought to the table that, listen, it's a case of who pays the piper dictate the tune. It's a case of, you being the judge in your own case. Is a case just like for lovers of football, you want to play a match right on your home turf, and then you're the one that would pay the officials. You're the one that would choose your match officials, from the referees to the assistant referees to the linesmen to the VAR officials. It is the host team that would choose them and also pay their salaries. It brings that question of where exactly are we headed to in terms of our politics, in terms of neutrality, in terms of the integrity of the coming election. 2023 election gave a lot of expectations. 2023 election raised the hopes of Nigerians in terms of the quality of the delivery of same, with promises of real-time transmission of results, with promises of upload of results on the IREV. By the end of the day, a lot of questions were asked on the integrity of that election. More so, the fact that the then INEC chairman has now picked up an ambassadorial appointment in the cabinet of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It begs the question of neutrality. But since Professor Josh Amopitan had been on the stage, it's been a different ball game. A lot of questions have been asked and answers are still not being provided. We'll focus on that on the show today. Are the concerns raised by the opposition parties, are they valid? Even interest groups, pressure groups, individuals, the Nigerian Islamic Council, and a lot of people had also come out to say that, listen, we cannot participate in an election coordinated or organized or led by Professor Josh Amopitan because of these several allegations. We're going to focus on that conversation today. We'll also look at the ongoing court cases within the ADC, and of course the Labour Party as well. So it's a big session on the show today. I welcome you yet again. My name is Okoyemi Akinde. Side Void is here, and it promises to be an engaging conversation today. I'm using one eye to look at the reports that is going on TV as regards the security situation on the plateau, and one of the person that spoke first, Professor Paramalam, is someone that I really know very well, very outspoken. He's always a grassroots mobilizer and of course a peace ambassador. But side forward, good to have you join us again on the show. It's a usual Wednesday with an unusual lineup of conversation for us today.
Well, thank you for having me, Okoyemi. A lot is happening at this time. I think we're already getting updates from the Supreme Court on all of the cases before it, the Labour Party, the ADC, and the PDP. And I think the update is that judgments have been reserved. The judgments of the court have been reserved, and what that means is that for those of us who are expecting that judgment will be delivered today, we have to wait for when the day the court will now give to deliver its judgments. Because the question will now be, what does it mean to say the courts have reserved judgment on a matter? Basically, the courts would announce
on this certain
to the litigants on this certain day we're going to be delivering a judgment. So we don't have a definite date now, but definitely I'm sure that the Supreme Court, understanding that look, most of these political parties are working against time, decided that look, there was going to be expedited hearing on these cases. And so one would expect that in the spirit of understanding that look, these parties are running against time, this judgment will come very, very soon. It might, today is Wednesday, don't be surprised that maybe on the Friday we will get the Supreme Court delivering its judgment on these cases, so that's the update. We had hoped that the judgment was going to come today, but again, it's not the first time we're seeing the Supreme Court reserving judgment on a particular matter, announcing the date for judgment, and then eventually giving the judgment. So that's the update from that end. We're still keeping our eyes on what are the options that are available, what will be the options that are available for these political parties. But at the end of the day, like I said in the morning, I don't know, it's wrong to preempt the courts, not even the highest court in the land. No court in the land should be preempted anyways. But I don't know. My mind keeps telling me that look, the Supreme Court judgment may not necessarily end the crisis in these political parties, especially if the court follows precedence of saying, you know what, intra-party matters, leadership matters within the party,
intra-party matter,
no court has got a jurisdiction over it. So what it means is that if
settle your problem,
go back and say, how then do you sort the problem if the courts cannot?
Because if you could settle, you would not approach the court in the first place.
And unfortunately, if you look at sections of the Electoral Act, you have a situation where the Act says, I'm not trying to see whether I can dig out the section that says, the court should not interfere in leadership matters within political parties. But in that same section, there are subsections that now contradict the earlier section, because again, it now talks about the fact that look, if a case like this is now brought before you, this is the way you should attend to it. So in one breath you are saying don't entertain the matter, but you are now also saying that look, the case is brought, your wisdom, you choose this is the way and way. So what it means is that you are still telling the court that they can still entertain this particular matter. So again, with our democracy, court cases have become a big part of our conversation. Whether we ask ourselves, is this an evolution? Is this a confusion? Are we making progress, or we are making progress in the wrong direction? Because again, progress can be both ways. It can be positive and negative. There's negative progress when you are making progress in the wrong direction. So, but again, that's just an update, and I think we can leave it at that.
Yes, we'll keep that conversation open. We'll have about an hour, 45 minutes on this show. So if there are recent or breaking development, trust us, I would always bring it to your notice. Let's start from home. The former Lagos State PDP governorship candidate Abdulaziz Adediran, known as Jandor, has dismissed claims that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has endorsed the Deputy Governor Obafemi Hamzat as the preferred All Progressive Congress candidate ahead of the 2027 governorship election. Jandor maintained that neither the presidential endorsement nor a formal declaration of interest from Hamzat itself has been made. Of course, Jandor is back into the folds of the All Progressive Congress after he ran against the party and came third in the 2023 election against the sitting governor, His Excellency Governor Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu. Jandor, now an APC aspirant eyeing the same seat of the governor, made the remarks earlier in the week when he was addressing issues on national TV, and he says he's pushing back the growing narrative that the race had already been settled for the outgoing deputy governor of the state, that's Hamzat. Of course, Jandor came out to say that, listen, nothing has been decided. He hasn't even he hasn't even told us himself that he's running. He's the deputy governor of Lagos, is qualified with over 20 years of experience in that space. Addressing those speculations about his presidential endorsement, Jandor argued that his other aspirants like himself would be the first to receive formal communication if such a decision were to be made. He said, no, the president had not endorsed anyone. I'm an aspirant, and we and a few others are also running for this post. Would be the first set of people to know if anything like this have been decided. He also went on to say that they have not gotten any notification or formal declaration from the deputy governor to indicate he is going to be running for the seat of the governor. We've also seen the deputy governor visiting members of the government advisory council, the GSC in Lagos, making consultation, but as against every other state of the federation side forward. Ogun State had even made a formal endorsement on their own. They've already picked a distinguished Senator 괡ᴜᴛᴜᴜ. And Nasarawa State, the outgoing governor, had also endorsed Senator Wadada as his successor. But Lagos, there's not a single banner or any poster whatsoever of any aspirant seen anywhere. Even those of one of the aspirants was seen on the Lagos Ibadan Express with the long bridge. That's where he went to put his banner, not even inside Lagos. It's quite an unusual political space. This month, the primaries, APC released the guidelines, the amounts they want to sell their forms, the schedule for, the breakdown, the primaries, the screening, the post-screening, and all of that. But how different is the politics of Lagos side forward? You go to Oyo, every single corner is politics. I was in Ondo over the weekend. I was forced to make a tweet that it seems there's no other political party in Ondo State. Everywhere you turn to, there's a picture of an aspirant with Lucky Aiyedatiwa and Tinubu on the side. Every single corner you turn to, from Akure to Ondo Town to Owo, every single corner you turn to, it is that aspirant, the sitting governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa, and the picture of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So a lot of people are coming out to flex their muscle, especially now that sales of form would start in a couple of days time. But why is Lagos State different side forward, and what do you make of the statement of Jandor?
All right, Lagos is different because it has always been different. The politics is different, the people are different. The political class is also different, if you understand some of the intrigues that comes with how politics is played in Lagos. From 1999 till date, we've had just one political party. The names may have changed over time, but in reality, it is still the same politicians who have evolved, to what is now the ruling party, the APC in Lagos. But it's been President Bola Ahmed Tinubu holding on to power in Lagos. Twice as governor for 8 years.
As a national leader of
the party, then eventually producing Fashola, who also was governor for 8 years. But what you have in Lagos is a situation where governors don't have political power.
They can't even choose their successor.
They dare not. They don't even have a say, and they must not have a say. So
no wonder you say Lagos is different.
That's why I said it's different. It's completely different, because so you have a situation where it's just the hierarchy is linear. Everybody looks towards one person who decides for others. There can be the pretense of a structure, but in reality, we know that
it's a one-man.
It's a one-man thing. It's a one-man show. And there are several instances to show that don't be deceived about GAC or no GAC, about whether there's a justice forum or mandate forum or there can be whatever.
There's an overriding.
The reality is that at the end of the day, it is the call of just a single person, and somehow everybody just falls in line. Once that call is made, you just find everybody falling in line, especially when it comes to the ruling party. It's almost like, again, Lagos is different because from 1999 till date, I think that the only time that we can say we had a viable opposition in Lagos was between 1999 to 2003, then maybe 2003, 2007. Afterwards,
we had the late Fᴜᴜᴛ
the late Fᴜᴜᴛ era. Well, maybe when Koro was trying, there was also some, semblance of seriousness from the end of the opposition. But since that
everybody
period,
has collapsed into one structure now.
The people you have in the opposition in Lagos look more like the extension of the ruling party. A lot of them are like socialites. They are not. You don't see them and see serious politics in them. The only time again that we had something a bit serious in terms of the opposition was the last election when Gbadebo's Vival ran on the platform
of the Labour Party,
and for the Labour Party to have been able to defeat the president in the presidential election, but again when it came to the governorship election,
it was one way.
Everything just collapsed completely. So now Dr. Obafemi Hamzat has been the most active out of all of the aspirants. He's been the most visible. Again, there's a lot of media presence around him.
Of course, as a sitting deputy governor.
So, there's always the feeling that, this is going to be the man. And I think in terms of his media work, he's been able to position himself very, very well. Again, when we see media, I don't want to call it propaganda, but when you see PR, what PR is.
Course.
Again, a large part of public relations is using the media to set an agenda, to project someone, frame stories around the person positively, and then of course begin to position the person in the minds of the people and the political class. So far so good. Dr. Obafemi Hamzat has done that very, very well. His PR machinery, I would say from my own estimation, has done a fantastic job. But I was having this conversation with some of my guys yesterday. I'm like, at the end of the day, we have to wait for what the Godfather is going to say.
Period. No matter how solid your media tool is.
Because we've seen this pattern before. We have seen this pattern before. And one thing is that, look, you have to follow the pattern. You have to learn from history. Because again, the past helps you to be able to predict the future. So you tie it together. Okay. At this point, what happened? At this point, what happened? Now,
will anything change?
So, and if it's going to change, what are the chances that anything will change? Now, there's a lot flying around as to what would be or may not be in Lagos. Again, on the front seat, at the forefront of all of the conversation is Dr. Obafemi Hamzat. He appears like a man who may eventually get the baton. But if you followed the Godfather and his politics in Lagos and how candidates eventually emerge,
the choice have always gone against popular expectations. Nobody saw Fashola coming.
Nobody from nowhere. There was Tokunbo Afikuyomi, and
there was Femi Pedro.
And so what? How did Fashola emerge? Suddenly we just started seeing posters. BRF. Baba the governor, Baba to the Fashola SAN. And then people started, who is this guy? He was the chief of staff. Really? This and that. He used to be his lawyer. So a lot came out and
changed the narrative.
I remember that when BRF came out, it was a die-minute thing. It was almost at the last minute. There were people who had already positioned themselves to succeed in about 12 of them. So they left the party. I remember that there was a joint press conference, condemning imposition, would not take this, blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the day,
they took it.
They all came back. They all fall in line. They accepted the verdict of the Godfather, and the rest is history. Now, Fashola was going to leave. I remember that there had been talk about Fashola being interested in his successor, and that Shashore
was his choice.
There was a lot of talk. In fact, they were positioning, there were media works, already positioning. I think he was then the Attorney General to Fashola as his successor. And from nowhere,
somebody just popped up.
A man that had been removed as the Accountant General in Lagos by Fashola became the candidate of the party. And so when the name Ambo, they came up, people started,
and then this thing, and then the music, I thought this guy was removed.
So, the pace by which the political machinery is put together
changes everything
to push the person. Look, without anybody knowing the person, it suddenly becomes household name. And how the political machinery in Lagos falls in line is something
it should be studied.
Because they just accept and everybody moves and they keep running with it. And so Ambode came from nowhere. Just a civil servant, yes, at the highest level. He was even said to have been somebody who was never in the good books of Fashola at that time. They had their issues. And look, he became the governor based on the singular decision
of one man. And then Ambode 4 years. There was a whole lot of talk about whether I was going to get a second term. In fact, I remember that his performance had excited a lot of party members. Yeah, for continuity.
Are you talking about the things he did? Look, that was a governor that you would not say did not perform. Infrastructurally, he was able to touch the hearts of many Lagosians. I think one of the major problems he had was his arrangement with waste management in Lagos. The Visionscape experiment was a disaster. And I think it was one of the issues that led to his problem. The other issue was that he was high-handed. I wasn't really taking care of party members.
Remember the song of Kwamwan?
Yes. It's not that even Kwamwan, the official musician of the party, sang and even mentioned the fact that he does that Johnny. So he was not really a party person. He was, look, as at the point when he was going to be dropped as the candidate of the party, the president kept insisting that I had no issues with him.
That is GSC.
It is you understand. So, but if the president had wanted Ambode, he could have
still remained.
If he had still insisted that, look, I want him, whatever he has done wrong, he will correct them. The party would have accepted it.
Sure.
But again, it appears that, look, the president himself just wanted him for one term at that time, and then people were not asking questions. Who's going to come up, blah, 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 and all of that.
And they just brought our neighbor.
And at that time, Dr. Bafemi Hamzat was also well positioned in the hierarchy of potential governors in Lagos. His name was already ringing bell. He was already like the household name. People had thought that he was going to emerge. And then suddenly from nowhere,
there was a certain
Babajide Sanwo-Olu came up as a candidate of the party. In fact, unconfirmed, there are party members in Lagos, high-ranking party members in Lagos, who had told me that as at the time where it was getting clear that Ambode wasn't going to get a second term, and that Hamzat was well positioned to take over from him, a certain Babajide Sanwo-Olu was lobbying to be the chief of staff to Hamzat if he emerges as the governor of the state.
Wow.
Again, unconfirmed. These are things we are getting from party members. So how Hamzat
now did not press conference and announced that he's stepping down with Sanwo-Olu beside him and Sanwo-Olu's wife and the current chief of staff. Now all of them were I covered
so when we talk about pattern, we're saying people should pay attention to these things. So how Sanwo-Olu now emerged ahead of Hamzat was a call by just one man.
One call. Who,
I must say that when it comes to choosing and deciding who becomes the next governor of the state through his party, I think it has to be only the Godfather that can say
final
what he sees in choosing people. Is it competence? Is it loyalty?
Party politics?
I have seen people who have said that this is a president who will not allow a thoroughbred politician to rule Lagos, to take over the power structure of Lagos as governor. Because I just told you, in Lagos is different because this is the only state, except for what is being done in Rivers, an experiment. Whatever Wiki is doing is trying to lift a page from the playbook of Lagos, where governors don't control political structure. They are not allowed. They must not even get close to it. They must not get near it. So now you have Sanwo-Olu's 8 years going. If you have noticed, there's a pattern that is getting a lot of people talking in Lagos. You have people saying, again, too many speculations out there, conspiracy theories. The president was in Lagos. He had gone to Ogun, well attended. His presence,
commissioning of the airport.
His presence was well established to commission projects in Ogun State. Lagos had already announced that the president was coming home for the Easter break and already. The Lagos was already. The governor had billboards where posters were everywhere that the president was going to be so busy commissioning projects. Of course, very fantastic projects. If you ask me, the Tolu complex delights me particularly because
I was there 2 Saturdays ago and I marveled at that.
And I like the fact that it's a project that touches the ordinary people. That is a public school. The facilities are available for everybody. You know, so again, we must commend such ideas that public funds are put into use to benefit ordinary people really. So that was the expectation. It is now very clear that the reason the president stayed away from commissioning the project was deliberate. There could not have been any reason. Because again, the Senate president who represented him, he's busy with security.
Because there were a lot of speculations that even said, he had gone back to Abuja.
But people said
then 2 days later, the president was in Bayelsa standing
and
for almost 1 hour
while the commissioning was happening. So definitely, there's a problem somewhere. There's a problem. And as journalists, we've tried to probe into the minds of politicians. We've tried to talk to sources who may know what could be going on, because that's the only way we can get this information. A lot of times, politicians don't talk in Nigeria, and we really don't have the opportunity to even ask a leader's pertinent question. If it was in the US, for example, I'm sure in Bayelsa State, while the president was commissioning those projects, journalists there would have asked him, sir, you were in Lagos, why did you not
commission projects
in Lagos, and you were in Lagos? And if he says something, there's a follow-up question to probe him further on why he stayed away from his home state in Lagos. We don't have the opportunity here, you know. A lot of again, the media team of the president is heavily censored. They have their own ways, because that is a question that I've expected journalists at the Bayelsa commissioning to ask him. Mr. President, you were in Lagos. In fact, announcements have been made that part of your activities will be the commissioning of projects in
Lagos.
Roads
have been closed. The entire Mobolaji Bank was closed.
You stay away? You were available in Ogun. You made yourself available in Bayelsa, but your home state,
where you were there for almost a week. The president came in on Thursday from Jos.
So it is clear that whatever Akpabio had said is not tenable, or whatever the media aides of the president were saying, something is fishy. Something is going on. Now, back to the issue of Hamzat. As it stands today, tomorrow things can change, or this evening. But as it stands today, there's no official endorsement of Hamzat from Mr. President Okoyemi. As it stands as at this time, no official statement. What you have is Dr. Obafemi Hamzat moving around Lagos, talking to GAC leaders, party leaders, stakeholders. So what you have is just consultation,
just normal consultation.
If there's no in Ogun State, it is clear as daylight. There's already a consensus, and I think the consensus has already been ratified by Mr. President. It's Senator Adeola Olamilekan, popularly known as Yayi. That is settled, and so people are saying, if the president can settle Ogun State, why is he holding on? Why this delay? That Lagos probably should have even been
his first call to say, this is where I'm going, Lagos. Let's move. You guys should start working. Let's get the motion going. So why is he holding on in Lagos? And let me tell you, I told a few friends that I would advise Dr. Obafemi Hamzat to not only activate his media team and PR team, he should also get his spiritual fathers, leaders behind him. They should start working seriously now. Anyway, I don't know what he's a Muslim, a very dedicated Muslim from the information we have. You know, fine gentleman. You can't question his capacity really. If you've had the opportunity to meet him, to see him, and from the information we have, again, very good charisma, very amiable personality. Extremely difficult to really fault his capacity to govern the state. It's difficult, you know. And he's also played the waiting game.
Somebody who has been patient.
He's played the waiting game. Just imagine, there were words that even before Ambode came in, he was not seeing the ambition. He's always been. He announced, there was a press conference where he announced he was stepping down for the current governor, right? So he's been around that space
and he's
been
patiently waiting. So, but now that he appears that he's almost at the touch line, the finish line,
stories will
change. Almost at the finish line. He's doing very well with his consultations from what we're seeing. He's doing well with his media work and PR positioning and what have you. But I think he has to add spirituality to it. And the spirituality is so that God will touch the mind of the godfather that decides for Lagos
and decide to put a call on him
and say, okay. Because if you do a SWOT analysis of Dr. Bafemi Hamzat, the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities and threats, again following patterns in Lagos, strength is a part of the establishment. He's known, they know him.
Popular.
There's no politician in Lagos, no matter how highly placed or lowly placed you are within the party.
I say
you don't know Dr.
Even
Bafemi
before he
Hamzat.
became a deputy governor.
And I've spoken to party members who say, you know what, he's a fine gentleman. You don't meet him and not like him.
I even heard that his wife is also very approachable.
And so he appears to be a man of the people within the political party.
But
now I'm going to get to the but. Now, what are his weaknesses? Again, following the pattern of how governors have emerged in Lagos, and I think his major weakness will be he's a politician. That he's a well-known politician, because again, some of the things we have seen is that, look, he appears the godfather is not really at home with
having a full-fledged politician.
Again, you know how that works, really. You know, it could be disastrous. We've seen that happen in states like Kano, you know, where somebody chooses a successor and then at the end of the day, the thing becomes yam, pepper, scatter. And as other people have said, that one of the reasons why Tinubu may have been able to hold on to the political structure of Lagos is that he has never made the mistake of allowing a thoroughbred politician rule the state.
The space.
So those guys going, you know, Fashola just a lawyer, he was not really somebody interested in politics.
So just
focus, you know. So, but a politician will be looking at how do I establish my own space? How do I also raise my grassroots? So that might be a one major problem for Dr. Bafemi Hamzat. The opportunities are there because, again, he's the deputy governor, is well known with the people.
And it looks like the zoning could also be in his favor.
Now, there are also other conspiracy theories. I'll quickly discuss that so that we can move to other things. I think we have other major issues, but this is Lagos in my constituency.
Of course,
it's very important that we discuss some of these things. Again, these are unconfirmed stories out there. As we have it, Jandor has been the most vocal when it comes to the fact that, you know what, there's no consensus yet. Look, if there's going to be a consensus,
we'll be the one to know.
We would know, because a consensus means all aspirants
of us agrees on this,
and then we discuss it and we move on. But since we have not been called to any meeting, it will be wrong for people out there to begin to assume that one person has been chosen. Like I said, media positioning may be pushing the agenda, but within the political space, there's still more to be done. So I agree with Jandor completely that, look, politics is not, you know, the media noise that you have out there. A lot might still be going on the ground. The second one that we are hearing, Okoyemi, is that, look, the president, again unconfirmed, but these are what our sources are saying. These are what some politicians are saying amongst themselves. At the end of the day, time will tell, Okoyemi. If you have noticed, the current governor has taken a back seat. It appears that there's a problem somewhere. I just told you that, look, there's more to why the president stayed away from commissioning
just those speculations
in Lagos. What is going on? There are people who are saying that, look, Mr. President for Lagos wants the assurance that whoever emerges would only be able to serve one term. Again, all speculations, nothing factual yet. But look, if you talk to politicians, they will tell you that what I'm saying,
the sentiments are
clear, and it's going round within the political space. That the Mr. President wants an assurance that, look, whoever emerges
would do one term,
would only legally be able to do one.
And then there'll be a transition.
And there'll be I'm coming there, Okoyemi. Now, who is that person amongst those who have shown interest for now who legally can only get one term? Akinwumi.
Sure.
He's been sworn in once.
Yes.
And if he emerges as a governorship,
he can only be sworn in one more time.
So that's why people are saying maybe the president may be looking at
that space.
Akinwumi. But even if that is the choice of Mr. President, the political structure, the leaders of the party members are not completely welcoming of that idea. But that, look, if the president wants it, he will always have his way. These guys will fall in line. The narrative will change. Now, the one that is completely complex and crazy that I've gotten, and I'm like, really? But with politics,
anything can happen.
Nothing is impossible. Okay, I mean, anything can happen is that, look, there is a move to force the current governor to resign. And so when he resigns as governor, that the deputy governor emerges automatically as the governor, even before the 2027 election, which means they will swear him in now.
And then he will go again and he will swear him.
So when he now
once.
contests in 2027 and he wins, he will get a second swearing in. And what that means is that automatically
you've been sworn
because
in twice.
The law now says you cannot be sworn in more than twice. That's, for example, what is happening in Ondo with Aiyedatiwa. And so that in itself legally compels Hamzat to do just one term. But that is crazy. I've had that. I'm like, can they go that far?
And these crazy ideas
because
fly.
What people are saying, again, those who are pushing that narrative are saying, Mr. President wants a Seyi Tinubu to govern Lagos. But the timing is wrong for a Seyi Tinubu to be on the ballot as governor while he's the presidential candidate. And so he's looking at the next 4 years, 2031.
When he will be leaving office.
If he wins second time, that's if he wins second. And that the calculation is that, look, he will still be the president and will be able to put his weight
to confirm
behind his son to emerge as governor of Lagos. But if Hamzat, without what they are saying, emerges now, he will be pushing for 2 terms. And that, look, 2031, 2035, another 4 years means that the president will be out of office. He might not necessarily have the political leverage to see through a process that will produce his son as governor. These are all conspiracy theories, narratives out there. And this is happening because, again, the president has kept everybody waiting in Lagos as to who his choice is within the APC ruling party of Lagos. But you know what, Okoyemi? Time will tell.
Well, I'm sure if we open the phone lines now, the show will probably end. But the phone lines are buzzing. And when you get to hear conversations like this, you know this is the only space, this is the only platform anywhere that gives you those theories, those school of thoughts, those things that are going on behind the surface for everyone to see. But side forward, I also found out that there's no former Lagos state governor that have retired to the Senate. It's against what we have in every other state in Nigeria.
Yes.
From 1999 till date, every single state in Nigeria have had at least one former governor going to the Senate. From Gombe to Sokoto, every single governor. Either once a senator come back to become governor or a governor going back to the Senate. Since 1999, every single state,
and it may not happen now,
I've produced that, and I found out that only Lagos.
Yes.
I've never had a former governor. President Tinubu did, he didn't go to the Senate. Fashola did, he didn't go to the Senate. Ambode did, he didn't go to the Senate. Sanwo-Olu is obviously not seeing any senatorial ambition.
He may not even get it.
Because even in Ogun State, the war between Otunbagbenga Daniels and the outgoing governor is huge.
Yeah,
Amosu is also in the mix as well. You look at Rivers, for instance, even the deputy governor to Wike is a serving senator. So it's a complex situation. But Lagos, is this part of Lagos is different? That Lagos have never produced a former governor that is a serving senator.
Now, what becomes of the governors that the Godfather had produced? The only exception we've had, Okoyemi, was Buhari's insistence on having Fashola as a minister. You know, when Buhari was going to appoint his ministers, if you had followed the events, from the reports we had, Fashola was not Tinubu's choice.
President, yes, sure.
I think we had the likes of there were names, really. There was this other banker, I'm trying to remember his name now. There were names flying around as the choice that Mr. President was going to give to Buhari, but that Buhari had insisted that, this guy, I want him, and against all odds, because those 3 ministries they gave to Fashola, politically speaking, it would have made political sense to have divided those 3 and give it to Lagos. To say,
but they put it under one person,
and I'm sure
power works and housing.
At that time, I think Tinubu was being careful Buhari had just emerged. Things were shaping up. The Senate had already been taken over by the Sarakis. Things were not looking too good for the Tinubu camp under Buhari at that time. And I'm sure that there was no way he would have been happy, politically speaking, to have just one man from Lagos taking 3 key ministerial positions. Like I said, it would have made a lot of political sense. Okay, you know what, Lagos?
Give us 3.
Take power, housing, and works. And then you have Tinubu putting his people, in
those places.
But you had just one person, and it was, for me, it was just a Buhari decision. So what I'm trying to say is that, look, what the governors eventually get from the political space is not also decided by them. The only exception was Buhari and his love for Fashola. Because look, in Lagos, they will tell you there's a lot of people waiting. We have a lot of people waiting. A lot. So you just consider yourself lucky self.
That you are in that space at that moment.
And you agree that you have quite, because look, the political empire, the Tinubu political dynasty
have raised a lot of people.
Have a lot of people who are on the waiting list. Yeah, that's what you are. When it's going to be it's a turn by turn thing. And so what they will say is, so it's just the way it's done in Lagos. And I think that's the reason why, you could not have become governor for 8 years or 4 years, and somebody else is on the way ahead. So and it is because the governors don't have political power, so they cannot ultimately decide
their own next plan
in the political space. At the end of the day, the godfather still decides for them.
And maybe it looks like the son to the godfather is also a godfather to other people. We've had a government chairman come to tell us that I can't decide my next political journey.
The information we have is that most of the young local government chairmen in Lagos were all produced by Seyi Tinubu, who does not hold officially political position.
Even federal minister,
but his influence is big to have been, and that was why one of the local government chairmen came here and said his own political future is working for the future of Seyi Tinubu. So that tells, and if that is what is on ground, those people who are pushing the conspiracy theory
may not be wrong.
May or may not be wrong.
Interesting conversation we're having on the show today. And I remember when the former governor of Lagos State, that's Babajide Fashola,
yes.
And when it was being screened on the floor of the Senate, I remember it was even Senator Yayi that asked him the question that what led to the fallout between you and your principal, and that answer would forever live with me. Maybe
loyalty not be tested.
Fashola answered simply with that phrase you just said, may your loyalty never be tested. And that was the end of that screening for him. He knows that, there were rumors that the then president, Goodluck Jonathan, came into Lagos. He was in Lagos for about a week. There were rumors that, there was so much pressure on Fashola.
If they don't give you that ticket,
come over.
He's here.
He's on the platter for you. Take it. So. But then he said, may your loyalty not be tested. And I'm sure his loyalty was tested, but he stood firm. All right, away from the politics of Lagos, but we'll also keep our fingers crossed. This is our home,
of course.
So we give you 100% of every card that is being placed on the table. Trust us on this show, trust us on this station. You will not miss a thing. Trust us on that one. Let's talk about politics now. A former resident electoral commissioner of INEC, Mike Igini, has raised fresh concerns over what he described as 3 dangerous provisions in the 2026 Electoral Act, warning that they could undermine the credibility of future elections, including the 2027 polls. He was on national TV earlier today, and he raised his concerns after a detailed review of the new law. Despite his earlier disengagement from electoral debates due to disappointment with development in the system. So, he noted that beyond earlier concerns about section 60 subsection 3, he has identified additional provisions that believes poses significant risk to our electoral integrity. He went on to say that Section 63 of the Act alleges that it allows presiding officers to accept ballot paper that do not bear INEC's official mark or any security feature. That has been the main crux for the Section 63. He went on to say that the word satisfied reveals a controversial clause previously contained in the 2010 Electoral Act, which was later removed after many years of criticism. He went on to raise concern about Section 138, which deals with ground for filing election petitions. Ighini says the provision suggests that actions or omissions contrary to INEC directives but not explicitly against the Electoral Act cannot be used as a grounds to challenge election results. I'm sure you're noting these things.
No, I have the sections here.
Yeah. He also argues that this effectively shields electoral officers who fail to comply with INEC guidelines, noting that such directive typically contained in the Commission's regulation. He went on to also criticize Section 137 of the Electoral Act, which says remove the requirements to join electoral officers, such as presiding officers or returning officers, as respondent in election petitions involving allegations of misconduct. That means if anybody is challenging an outcome of a result, they cannot join the person that conducted the election to come as a testify, as a witness on that particular one. So we have Section 63, we have Section 138, we have Section 137. So he went on to say that I found where the last intervention we had were discussion about Section 60 subsection 3. So he says, now let's go to Section 63. Now Section 63, which I just discovered, they have now reintroduced something very terrible. These were the words of Ighini. And he says, you can see that a ballot paper that will be used for the 2027 election that does not bear official mark and fixtures, security of INEC, should be accepted by the presiding officers. Before we even dig into the side forward, did we sleep on the 2026 Electoral Act as amended? Because there were questions around the mode of transmission. There were protests. The few left in the opposition are the likes of Ireti Kingibe, are the likes of Senator Yenaya Baribi and all of them. They were questioning the mode of transmission to the point that even the Senate had to call for an emergency sitting to look into it. But did we miss the other side? And the fact that the president signed the 2026 amended act, that is the fastest act ever signed into law in the history of our democracy, within 24 hours. Yes. Did we miss the opportunity to properly scrutinize the newly amended electoral act? And from these concerns raised by Mike Ighini, should we be worried as well, side forward?
Well, I keep telling people that we have good people in the country, whether anybody likes it or not. It's very easy to assume that all Nigerians are corrupt, all Nigerians are manipulative, all Nigerians are crooked. But in reality, I have seen decent Nigerians, I have seen truthful Nigerians, I have seen transparent Nigerians, and I have seen patriotic Nigerians who want this country to succeed, to work, and not just by mere words but by their action. And if there's one man that stands tall as someone I consider to be a person of impeccable integrity, decency, I think Mike Ighini falls into that category. If you follow his pedigree, if you follow his antecedents, how he had stood for the right thing even when he was working in INEC, and now what he has done. And we have to thank people like that who are bold enough
to question the system,
to stand as someone who will say, because the reality is that, look, there's a lot flying around now. You can be dwarfed, you can be swallowed. We have a political system now where money is readily available, and so all voices of conscience, all voices of good reason can be bought. This is the era of what money cannot do, more money will do. So when you have a few Nigerians, whether in the civil society organization, whether as ordinary Nigerians, whether as lawyers, whether as journalists, who are able to say, you know what, this is the right thing and we must stand by it, I think they must be commended. Because there are other options for some of us. If we want to become political jobbers, it's so easy. And that's why I look at people. Some of us are well connected. We have people who are connected to people at the highest level, and so if you want to become a political jobber,
just a tap.
It's just the doors are there. You just open it and they say, just come in, no more already. But what we are saying is that we've seen this country beyond our own personal interests, and we must continue to push for the right thing. And that's why we must commend Mike Ighini for helping us to also fish out some gray areas in the Electoral Act 2026 as amended. Now, Okoyemi, I keep saying it, in a functional democracy, you have the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. Checks and balances, separation of power. Unfortunately, what we have, I don't know. And my own estimation is that this 10th National Assembly will go down as the worst we've ever had. Because, again, they have also positioned themselves
to be used
to be seen as such. Because from day one, they told you anything, we'll just do it. We're not going to check anything. We're just, and to make matters worse, you have a Senate president who jokes about everything. And my mind is that this is a man who doesn't really love the president, because half of the time, the way he talks, the things he says, I think is to incite Nigerians
against the president.
Because he deliberately jokes about things Nigeria consider very important. So I always say that maybe Mr. President should begin to have a second look at the Senate president. Does he man really love me? Because half of the time, the things he says are things that should get Nigerians angry. Because he jokes about very important issues, and the way he jokes about it is enough to get people annoyed. Now, what has Mike Igini? You've summarized those sections, and I have decided to print out the sections so that we can read it verbatim, so that we are not accused of
misinterpretation or misinformation.
Now, we're all fixed on section 60 subsection 3, transmission of results. That was what dominated the conversation, and deliberately some of our lawmakers who understand this were just looking at us. Continue to get yourself distracted about transmission of results, whereas in the Electoral Act they had already put some very dangerous things. That's what Mike Igini is saying, that look, people should also pay attention. I've said it that look, the media can do the best they can do. Remember that, Okoyemi, we are now in an era where documents that are signed by the president has to be checked again and check whether what was signed is actually what is gazetted. So again, sometimes you have this document, you want to second guess it, you want to check and be sure that you're actually working with the right document. As I speak to you, the 2026 budget signed by Mr. President officially is not released. It was signed, but that's why we cannot even review the performance of the last budget. 2025 is there. We have not been able to even do a proper review of budget performance. Even the 2026 that was recently signed, we don't have the official copy. I've been trying to get it because we can't work with the one that was debated. We have to work with the one that was signed, so we can begin to review some of the things that have been put in that one, but we don't have it. So, but now the Electoral Act, Mike Igini talks about section 63 1 and 2 has been problematic, and he's saying that look, if we don't quickly address these issues, Amokwito is a APC member, not APC apologies, will not even be the problem.
The list of our
problems. And what is section 63 1 and 2 saying? Subsection 1 and 2. And the section 63 generally talks about what? Ballot paper. Okay, what is supposed to be the valid ballot paper for that we use to vote, the ballot paper. And so this is what it says. Subsection 1, 63 subsection 1 says, subject to subsection 2. So whatever you have in subsection 1 is subject to subsection 2. That a ballot paper which does not bear official mark prescribed by the commission shall not be counted, subject to subsection 2. When you hear things like that, just know that the most important one is subsection 2.
Forget one.
If they say subject to section 1, say subject to subsection 2.
So let's go and check the provision of that subsection 2. So
what I tell you is that LAU is only relevant based on what
section
you have
2
in
says.
So, but subsection 1 says that a ballot paper which does not bear official mark
of INEC
shall not be what? Counted. But that is based on what? So what does subsection 2 now say, Okoyemi? It now says where the returning officer is satisfied that a ballot paper which does not bear the official mark of INEC was from a book of ballot papers which was furnished to the presiding officer of the polling unit in which the vote was cast for the use of the election in question, he or she shall, notwithstanding the absence of the official mark, count the ballot paper.
So you see that section 1 is not relevant.
So what we have here is that whether the ballot paper has the official mark or not,
as long as the officer in charge says
part
that
of the ballot paper, it can be
end.
counted. Okay.
That is the end, no matter where it comes from, as long as they brought it from the books of
and the official, it doesn't matter whether so far the presiding officer says, you know what, Ogbemi, they might worry, ballot paper is part of the book they gave to me. Whether it has official mark of INEC or not,
is valid.
It will be used and counted as a legal ballot, and it will count. Number one. Number 2, section 137 subsection 3. Mike Guinea calls our attention again, and that where the petitioner complains, and this is about election petitions and electoral umpires. He said where the petitioner complains of the conduct of an electoral officer, and who are the electoral officers? A presiding or returning officer who maybe had misbehaved, they had been compromised. It shall not be necessary to join such officers or persons, notwithstanding the nature of the complaints. Let's come again, okay? Pay attention. Look at section 63. It already says, so far the presiding officer says this ballot paper is valid.
Is valid.
It can go. To now shield
that presiding officer,
those presiding officers,
they are challenging the outcome of that result. You cannot join them.
You cannot bring them.
So they cannot testify.
They cannot testify. You cannot drag them. So
validate their decision.
They say INEC can now go and defend the case. So let's listen again. That where the petitioner complains of the conduct of an electoral officer, a presiding or returning officer, it shall not be necessary to join such officers or persons, notwithstanding the nature of the complaints, and the commission, that is INEC now, shall in this instance be made a respondent. So it is INEC you can sue.
You cannot sue the.
You cannot bring in the person as anything. You cannot even join them. Deemed to be, so the INEC will now be deemed to be defending the petition for itself and on behalf of its officers or such other persons. So no matter what the presiding officer does now, even if you have the evidence, you video the person, you can document it.
It's not valid.
It's not valid. Now let us go further again. Section 138 now, and this is about the grounds for what, for which petitions can be made. It now says, look, an election, that is subsection 1, says an election may be questioned on the grounds that the 1A election was invalid by reasons of corrupt practices or non-compliance with the provisions of this act, or 1B respondent was not duly elected by majority of lawful votes cast at the election. Now the controversial one, now section 138 subsection 2. Now pay attention. An act or omission which may be contrary to an instruction or directive of the commission or of an officer appointed for the purpose of the election, but which is not contrary to the provisions of this act, that's the Electoral Act, shall not of itself be a ground for questioning the elections. What are they saying, Okwemi? Very simple interpretation. So what he's saying is that, you know what, you have the Electoral Act, but there are also INEC rules and guidelines. Because the reality is that, look, the Electoral Act cannot capture everything. So in areas where there are no clear interpretations,
we refer to INEC's guidelines.
That's why INEC also have the power to create rules and guidelines. So what this section is saying is that, look, if the presiding officer or whoever conducts the election does not follow that guideline, so far it does not go against the dictates of the Electoral Act,
it's valid.
It is valid, and that it will not be a condition
for filing
petition.
Yes.
What this section of the act does not say is that, what of in a situation where the Electoral Act is silent on that matter? What then do you do? It is not as if it is not stated, but it's not explicitly on that issue. So what we have here, Okwemi, these three are clear things in the Electoral Act.
So I'm reading through now, and
you're beginning to see, because if you have monitored the elections, if you have, and Mike Guinea was saying it today, that look, for years these were things that they themselves as INEC officials have talked about,
Questioned.
as it needs to be, that what this Electoral Act has now done is to even make things worse with our elections. And that look, what has been done is to create an opportunity for election riggers, election manipulators. Look, are you aware, Okwemi, and we should not bother ourselves, people should just know, most of the presiding officers at the polling unit, are they not chosen by politicians?
Of course, they
most of
nominates them.
Look, we've said it on several shows. When they bring a rec, Okwemi, who receives the rec? The governor,
the sitting governor
of the state,
yes,
received. And what they do, Mr. Rec, you are welcome. Do you have an accommodation? Most likely they provide accommodation.
They give you
provide original
mobility. They give you security.
And the next thing, for all your ad hoc officials, they give you the list.
Of course,
it is the politicians who supply,
of course,
them the list.
Of course.
So if you now shield those people to the point where they cannot be held accountable,
they cannot be joined on a suit.
If the ballot paper is valid or not,
they can
validate it, and then at the end of the day, they cannot be held responsible. What kind of election are we going to have in 2027? You see, this morning there was a debate as to whether we can ever get it right with our elections. And to begin to assume that everybody is fraudulent, corrupt, for me, it's completely nonsensical. Yes, we understand that we have a problem. It's extremely difficult to find people of good morals and good value, but we are not all thieves. And patriotism comes in different forms. We know that, look, this country should work so that this democracy can serve the interest of the larger majority of Nigerians. The democracy we have is only serving the interest of a few political class and their cronies, and that's why you see that, look, what has become the biggest business now in Nigeria is politics.
It's politics.
Where people just do everything possible. They compromise, play crookedness to get to power. But the reality of democracy that works is that, look, it has to be rule-based, Okwemi. It must follow the rule of law. So this morning, there was this conversation as to, this is the way we play, it has to be dirty, politics is dirty. And the assumption is simple. If you consider politics a dirty game, that means you've accepted that dirty people will continue to rule you. And that's why some of us have been talking about the need to reform the electoral process so that we can have the best of us rule the rest of us. The crooked politics we play in Nigeria today only produces the worst of us to rule the rest of us. And I'll tell you, let us even use the analogy of a football match. Let's even use the analogy of a football match. Okay, you know, in football, you have all manner of tricks. You know, that's why you have formation, Abi. Sometimes you have formation, you have different things that coaches do, teams do. But do you know that there are red lines that red lines that they must not cross?
Sure.
So what it means is that, look, even if we accept our politics to be a game, shouldn't we have red lines that we will never cross? Because once we begin to cross those red lines, it has moved from politics to something else. And crossing the red lines is that will continue to produce crooked people to rule us. You cannot say you are playing a football match, and then you go and bribe the referee.
Or you play, or as players you place bet on yourself to score or receive yellow card.
Then why do you think FIFA, for example, if they find that if they find that a referee has been compromised,
they'll throw you out?
Because they know that, look, you can do all manner of tricks.
But
a player can fall, simulation where I won't bam you get yellow card. They can't overlook things like that. You can do your formation. You can, there are tricks go on that we see on the pitch. This is a trick and all of that. But there are rules that, look, if you cross this one,
you are done for.
So the game cannot be completely dirty. You can have intrigues, but once it becomes extremely dirty to the point where you can bribe referee, where a bet can be done in a way where the keeper deliberately concedes a goal,
or a player makes a foul that in 29 minutes I'll get a yellow card
because of people. You see that they monitor even the betting world. Or you get to the point where you feel an illegible player. You see that the consequences are there. What we are saying is that, are we going to continue to play politics where there are no red lines?
You cross everywhere.
So far you win. How you win does not matter. It is dirty, and let us continue to play dirty. The way you win, how you win does not matter. So the extent that you can compromise everybody jettison the idea of rule of law, compromise the judiciary, compromise the legislature, compromise security operatives, compromise INEC, and we say that is a democracy because it is politics, and so we should continue with that because that is where we are with our democracy. Laws are made, and we are already seeing that, look, these laws are in itself a precursor to problems that will happen with our elections. We still been complaining about the fact that why is it that for every election 99.9% goes to the courts, and at the end of the day we've now seen a situation where even the courts cannot exactly be even in their judgment, they just even muddle up things, they just compromise everything. Well, look, if people say we are attacking the judiciary, we were not the ones who said it. Senator Adamu Bukachua told us that his wife has then the head of the appeal court had influenced the outcome of judgments of so many of his colleagues. He said it. He was not crazy. He wasn't drunk. Retired Supreme Court Justice Amina Oge, she said it too, that the moment the politicians knew that if you don't win at the ballot, at the polls, they infiltrated the courts. They put their wives, they put their children, their friends, they started building houses for judges, buying cars for them. There are still Nigerians who will now tell you that, oh, it's politics. What kind of useless politics is that? So that we'll just mess up everything in the name of politics? And so you ask yourself, why is it that every 4 years we conduct elections but nothing gets done? Because we are playing dirty politics that has been producing incompetent people. We play the dirty politics that continues to produce the worst of us to rule the rest of us. That is why every 4 years we talk that we'll fix electricity. From 1999, electricity no day. Oh, we'll fix the health sector. Go to our hospitals and see the reality. Nothing gets done. Oh, our roads, infrastructure deficit everywhere. Refinery is not working. From 1999 we'll fix the refineries. Up till today the refineries are not working. So the reason is because we have continued to tolerate the useless, dirty, crooked politics that we have been playing, and until we change it, and that's what we are saying, we cannot continue. You want to win, how you win does not matter. Is that politics? There are no rules. We manipulate everything. We pocket the judiciary. Very unfortunate.
It's quite unfortunate, and it's even more painful. And when you look at how much we invest in elections in this country, I followed the Indian election, the last election they had, and India had about, I think, over 1 billion registered eligible voters, and a little over 900 million of them voted, and only 4%
went to the courts.
Only 4% of over 900 million went to the courts, and the election was as stable, and that's like the largest political experience in the history of
democracy in the world.
Because that's the biggest democracy in the world. But look at what we have here. Give and take voter register is not even up to 100 million. How many people vote in election?
About 25 million.
We have a president that is ruling a country of almost 200 million people with a vote of less than 9 million. If you put the vote of the opponent combined, if you put the vote of Peter Obi with 6.1, Atiku Abubakar with 6.9, Rabi Musa Kwankwaso with 1.4 million, put all of those together, they almost doubled the numbers of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the last election. So he's a minority president ruling over against the majority vote, in an election he participated in. And we'll come back to this. If you go back to 1993, and you go to listen to the campaign promises of the late Moshood Kashim Awolowo Abiola, it's the same thing he was campaigning with, that Tinubu will campaign with in the next election. Go and listen to what Obasanjo said in 2003 when he was running for second term. It's still the same thing. Go and listen to what late Umar Musa Yar'Adua said. It's still the same thing. Go and listen to what Goodluck Jonathan said. Go and listen to what the late President Muhammadu Buhari said. The same thing that Tinubu campaigned with in 2002, in 2022, yes. It's still the same thing. We'll probably still campaign with in 2017.
We'll still campaign about insecurity. We'll still campaign about light.
Electricity.
We'll still campaign about health. We are still going to campaign about education.
Everything.
We are still going to campaign about.
So,
and for every 4 years, now INEC is looking for 1 trillion to conduct an election with this electoral act.
And an election that already puts the ruling party at an advantage.
Whatever. I just had a conversation with Say now. She said maybe they should just share the body and not even bother.
Because if you look at the balance of play with all of these old legal issues that the ADC still
the same electoral act that has stopped petitioners from using falsification of results as a ground for petition.
So let me also break this down for the people. If Said Fuad and I are running for the same political office, and I pick up a nomination form from my party, and I falsify my results, and my party does not run a background check on my result,
or they run and left it,
and they decide to just ignore, and then they push it to INEC. The moment INEC puts my name on the ballot and I contest an election,
INEC will not help them verify.
INEC will not go and verify result. It is the job of the political parties and the screening committee. So if Said Fuad eventually finds out that I said I went to University of Toronto, but I didn't go there, Said cannot use that basis to challenge the outcome of that result, because the court says that it is a pre-election matter and it is a political party matter.
The thing is this: we are saying that, look, the first step to you being able to contest Okoyemi is to at least be qualified to run,
as in the first step.
And so what it means is that, look, forgery and perjury in itself is a crime, because whatever you've presented, you don't have it.
Yes.
So if I have that information that, even the person that won me during the elections is not even qualified to run,
is there a basis for you to appeal?
Which used to be a ground by which elections have been nullified in the past. This same electoral act has now removed it. That, you know what, even if you know that your opponent result,
if the evidence is clear
and it's not
the basis upon which
you cannot even bring it for election petitions. An electoral act that seeks for us to have a functional democracy
is giving that provision.
Look, you see, and the reason why at the end of the day, we are in it together. If people think we should be tolerant of this nonsense, if people think that, let's just slide, it is politics, look, Okoyemi, if you've seen functional democracies, they work on their rules. They tighten the guardrails,
because to put everybody in line. You are operating within the rails.
So no matter who you are, there's something that can checkmate you. So what they try to do is, first and foremost, to have laws that can whip everybody to line. You cannot go outside of the rules. No matter
who you are.
And so when they create the rules, they also ensure that there are institutions to protect the law
and interpret those laws.
And interpretation are clear enough for the sake of sustenance of that democracy.
There's no ambiguity around it. There's no interpretation needed for it.
But what we have is, like I always say, we are pulling out the house, we are destroying everything, we are manipulating the thing. We have a situation now where politicians are even very boastful of the fact that they are planting people in other political parties to go and destroy them.
Stay there, fight them, destroy.
They are not even hiding it. To them now, it's a strategy. Yes, the same people will tell you, we cannot help them to go and repair their house. It's not our job as a ruling party to go and fix the house of the opposition.
It's our joy to see you in disarray.
But in a functional democracy, it is not also their job to use
instrument of the state
to be, because people forget that the ruling party can only do that because they are in power, and because they are using the instrumentalities of the state to do that.
Down the other people.
I have seen people who come up with the ridiculous excuse that why can't the ruling parties, why can't they organize themselves? If somebody wants to come and scatter your party, why can't you resist the person? That's completely ridiculous. Because go and read about, for people who are saying those things, we will not help you. You need education, so go and read yourself. Go and read about what they call state capture, how people in power use the institutions of state, the instrumentalities of the state, to weaken
the opposition.
And you understand that, look, once you have leaders who are that crooked, there's nothing you can do, because they have, one, the money. Number two, they can manipulate the judiciary. Number three, they have security operatives. What then can you do? But leaders must understand that, look, it is like barracks. Your time will come, and your time will go.
Soldier come.
You should be careful and be fearful of the precedents
that you are setting.
We were here when we were complaining about some of the actions taken under the Obasanjo regime with our democracy, how 4 or 5 legislators will impeach a governor, how the court ruled, and at that time he refused to release Lagos money. How Obasanjo himself used about 5 Senate presidents
and about 5 party chairmen.
How within the party he was Mr. Say It All, Mr. Know It All. There was no if he was not happy with you as the chairman of the party, you are gone.
You will come and eat pounded yam, and from there you sign your resignation.
And there were Nigerians who were calling his attention then. Baba, this thing you are doing, you are setting a very bad precedence. There are people that will come tomorrow
and do worse.
Oh my goodness, because they are taking notes. It is in the spirit of warning and explaining to Baba then that we are also doing it now. That hey, the precedents we are setting, this Madaru politics, this Daruda politics we are doing, this politics of no conviction, no reputation, nothing that we are doing, we are setting a very devilish, terrible precedent that when people come after us,
it's to consume everybody.
To consume everybody. And that's why we are afraid, Okoyemi. We are afraid. Our politicians may not be afraid.
They have nothing to lose.
They live in a bubble. They live in a different reality. They are overfed. A lot of them never even fought for this democracy. They were not around, or some of them were around as even agents of the military. So they never fought for democracy. They were not tear gassed. They were not imprisoned. They didn't go on exile. So if they don't know the value of the democracy, you can't blame them. But since they have benefited from the democracy,
they should at least make it work properly.
At least make it work,
at least,
and not kill the democracy for us.
If it has been killed, would you benefit from it?
Exactly, and that's why for people who were part of people who fought for democracy, that they are now also joining the elements who are killing democracy, it shocks some of us. So why then did you suffer to have this democracy if what you are now going to do is to begin to establish systems that will finish the same democracy? And that's why we keep giving the analogy. They will say, it doesn't matter, sometimes, when these people come up, we posted the topic of political roundtable on Sunday.
And some of the calls.
And some, no, not even calls. One ridiculous person.
Yes.
Said he was praying for himself. And I just laughed. And I even went to check the profile of the man. And they don't understand that, look, it's just the love of the country, the fact that, look, we've seen things work in other places. We've seen countries with potentials that are not close to what God has endowed us with. And you go into those countries,
and they're functional.
I keep saying it. Our girls here working with us, sports journalists, covered the AFCON in Morocco. When they came back, what were they saying? when they came back, what were they saying?
Morocco is an African country.
I was watching a documentary on YouTube recently about the rail system in Saudi Arabia. So from Jeddah to Medina, from Medina to Mecca, the high-speed train. You marvel. And they've done that with what? Oil money. The same oil God has blessed us with. And so what we are saying is that, look, Mr. President says we should embrace democracy. He doesn't need to remind us. We fought for democracy. There was a reason why we decided that the military has to go back to the barracks. So the president can even he cannot be reminding Nigerians. The only reason why he is reminding Nigerians is that they who are in power
are not making it look like it's a democracy.
That's
you don't need to be told the system of government if you are feeling it.
Because we fought for it in the first place.
Yes.
So if the system had been working for the people,
you know to remind
why you remind me that it's a democracy? Let
your actions show the system of government.
And what do we say? The government of the people, by the people, and for the people. If the people are seeing the benefits of the democracy,
they will not question.
Would you need to remind us?
Remind us. Did we see CAC anywhere? Are we being ruled by decree? Don't you know we have?
We know it's a democracy, but the things that democracy are supposed to bring to the people,
not giving us. Instead of you to do your work, you are constantly reminding us that we should protect this democracy.
The democracy that for every day continues to make us question whether we really have a democracy or whether it's not just a civilian rule. A democracy that for years the hopes and aspirations of the people have continued to be dashed. We'll give you light, no light. We'll give you water, no water. We'll give you good roads, no good roads. We'll give you quality healthcare, no quality healthcare. The average Nigerian today It's a government on its own.
Of course, you provide everything, for yourself, and you pay tax.
The same democracy that keeps talking about prosperity for the people, whereas poverty continues to pervade the land. So we want to continue to remind us about what we already know, but we cannot feel, we cannot see. And that's why we keep telling our politicians today who think we should continue with the Madaru and their supporters. The Madaru politics, the crooked politics we are playing. We are heading for the precipice, Okoyemi. This democracy hangs by the cliff. And why some of us are worried, Okoyemi, is that we don't have dual citizenship. We don't even have visa. You saw that the president of Ghana recently made a statement praying for Nigeria. That look, nothing must happen to Nigeria. Because which African country can take out the refugees of Nigeria? I was listening to an interview of recently, the marketing manager of Fly Gabon, as an airline owned by Gabon, the Gabonese government. And when the lady said the whole of Gabon, they are no more than 2 million, I was shocked. That's the population.
Yes.
But they're able to organize themselves. They even talked to the lady, they asked the lady about how Gabon has been able to maintain affordable airfare, why it's very affordable to fly Air Gabon. I didn't know what she said. She said, have you forgotten that we're also an oil producing nation?
Of course.
So they asked, okay, so what's about? I said, you know what, despite the disruptions in the world, what we have done in Gabon is to ensure that we have a controlled price, a stable price that makes things continue to remain affordable for the people. So we don't work with international market pricing. What we use domestically is controlled. The pricing is what is that not what Nigerians have been asking for? Okay, and so we will again remind ourselves of the Titanic ship analogy, because it's even a bigger analogy now for people who don't know. They dared God. Because again, these were people, influential people. They thought their knowledge. They said, "Oh, even God cannot sing this ship." What was it doing that sung the ship? Iceberg, ice.
That can melt with sunlight.
Like like something you don't even take seriously. And what are we saying? When the ship started to sink, you saw that the people that first noticed were the poor people on that. Of course, now, because they were the lower deck. They were the lower deck. They were the ones that workers are those, because the people at the top were the rich people.
They were still partying.
And so when the lower people like us now, the Talakawas, saw that the ship was sinking, they ran. Some of them ran up to go and tell, it didn't sink. What did they say? In fact, they were rearranging their chairs. But you saw that when it now became very clear to all of them, both the rich and poor on that ship, that the ship was already sinking. When rescue came, who were the first people to be rescued?
The rich people.
The rich people
were getting life jacket and life.
The poor. So what we are saying, that's why we are afraid that if this wahala starts, so they have private jets too. Okay,
they'll be out.
So for you supporter, you don't get visa. You don't have this value of another country.
Have passport of your own country.
You keep tolerating.
You cannot even afford the passport of your own country. Don't talk of another country.
And you are supporting. You say, "Oh, we should continue." That's why we say, and because they have different countries they can go to. They have properties abroad. Their children are not here.
Their children would never step their foot into Nigeria.
So if we say we are afraid, we have a reason to be afraid of me. I have everything here.
How we go touch? Even the rich people in Titanic had to come to the level of
but they chance them.
But they still chance them
because they have the means.
They were throwing the poor people into the water.
Some of these are politicians. They follow Gabon, follow Cotonou. You will be here. You can't even go anywhere. You don't have the means.
Igbo.
So we must do everything, because if the democracy fails, we are heading for anarchy. This is not to being sounding, and that's why we said that. Look, have we learned anything? How other democratic experiments in the past failed? What were the things that led to the failure of the First, Second, and Third Republic? Have we learned anything?
I'm not sure. I'm not even sure things were these wars before those republics collapsed.
So that's what we are saying, that if God has now helped us
to even manage
the resilience of Nigerians to say we will sustain this one, it must not fail. But there are limits, there are limitations to what the people can take. For every 4 years, promises. Achievements on paper, in reality, does not touch the real people. Poverty everywhere, it is visible, you can see it. It's not something that is even hidden again. People are already eating from the dustbin.
Mr. President, and I want to use this medium to talk to you. Please look at the youth of Nigeria. We are really suffering.
Politics plays its part in everything that defines us as a sovereign entity. Isn't it right to discuss what makes it tick? When the main actors converge in the power corridors to make decisions that affect the next meal, shouldn't we probe even deeper?
Nigeria are suffering. The suffering is too much.
When it comes to the complexities of politics, we strive to give it clarity, to deepen your understanding as the listener.
The decisive factor will be knowledgeable leadership committed to good governance.
Make it a date with Oᴏ and Said Fuad on Midweek Politics every Wednesday from 1 to 3 p.m. on your top dial, Mainland 98.3 FM. Politics, it's a whole meal.
Political enemies, they don't want you to succeed. Have you just realizing that? No matter what I do, they will still abuse me.
They spoil more and more. And as time they go, children they die more and more. No food to eat, no light to see.
Whichever way, by all means necessary, you must have electricity, and you will not pay for estimated bill anymore. A promise made will be a promise kept. If I can't keep the promise and I come back for second term, don't vote for me. That's the truth. This election is a revolution. Adogba, wọ́n fẹ́ fi Fìlàdébàdì ìrọ̀dọ̀gba ìgbà tí ò sọ̀rọ̀ ńlẹ̀. Wọ́n sọ̀rọ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ epo àwọn á di 200 á di 5. Ẹ fọkàn balẹ̀, a máa gbé wálẹ̀.
Side forward, I have a friend that manages her restaurant on the island. It's a kind of like mid-class, restaurant. So, 2 Sundays ago, she opened a new outlet. So I said to just, go to the island and just celebrate with her. And then she told me that, she listens to all our programs. She listens to how we try to highlight some of the issues in the country. And that she wants to show me a reality that I should wait. So I waited till they closed. Side forward. As early as after 6 or to 7, people were already coming into the back of the restaurant where they dump their waste. So people are always there, are waiting to pack waste. And I asked her that I've been to parties where people submit, polythene bags to caterers that, Ajami, let me pack this food for my dogs and all of that. And she told me that these are not food for dogs. That you see those people there, they will eat those things. So she said it got to a point that she saw it for the first time on her CCTV when she was outside of the country. She was monitoring from where she was. And then she came back and she asked her staff that these people, what are they coming to do? That they are coming to pack food that they want to eat. People with children. So what she does,
bones.
Yes, what she does is that she told them that, listen, for every food you prepare for the day, you must make sure that you prepare 10% extra. So they'll pack those meals. So once it's 7 o'clock, they will put it outside. They will be giving to those people 7 p.m.
Don't give the address.
I cannot, and I will not. So she told me to wait. She told me to wait.
You don't give address.
Side forward, I witnessed it firsthand. People were riding Okada to come and collect food in that place, and I'm like, and that is it. Everywhere you turn to side forward, if you're coming out of a barbering salon, somebody is begging you for money. You're coming out of the mall, you're coming out from the bank, you're coming out from the mosque, you're coming out from the church, you're coming out from the market. Everywhere you turn to, somebody, you're standing at the bus stop. Somebody is telling that just someone to me. In fact, they would even tell you that don't give me the money, just take me to where you can buy food and buy food for me. Side for a while, oil producing state, and we've gotten to this level where Nigerians are begging to feed. Forget the people wearing fine clothes everywhere. Forget all these things that we are saying. If you sit people down and you hear their story side forward, you're going to marvel. And you're going to ask yourself that have we lost the essence of governance in the first place? The Thursday that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu arrived in Lagos, about 2 Thursdays ago, I was caught in his convoy at Anthony bus stop. We were locked there for over an hour because the president was passing. And I counted the convoy of the president. There were 46 vehicles in that convoy. 46, and we were there for over 1 hour. The road was locked because the president was passing. And right there, somebody somewhere is going plate in hand to beg for food.
We are a poor country. We are a poor country.
We're a poor country, but the political elite does not reflect how poor we are in this country.
No.
Okay.
They don't have to reflect.
I know a lot of people want to join this conversation. And you're live on Mila 98.3 FM. It is Midweek Politics. The messages I have on Facebook and on WhatsApp, I doubt if I'm ever going to touch every one of them, but we'll try. 0913-600-0410. Please, when you are calling, just go straight to the point. Leave the pleasant, just your name, where you're calling from, and your contribution as brief as possible, so that I won't have to cut you off when you're talking too much. Hello, good afternoon.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon.
You're welcome.
This is Muhammad Abbas from Ikeja.
You're welcome.
How are you guys doing?
Good.
How family? How work?
We thank God.
Mashallah. So I just recently come back from home. I went to somewhere in the northern Nigeria, and then this government is very, very bad. I would just say that we are just a bunch of I'm sorry to say, but we are just a bunch of useless people. Honestly speaking, with the resources we have in this country and the lot of knowledgeable people like you, and then middle class like us, and those ones that rely on us. We can't even fix this country. It's a shame on all of us, honestly speaking. Other countries, it's Almighty Allah created the resources and put it in the land for us to use it to build the country, for us to live it's a test, isn't it? We want to use it in a good way or the bad way. That's a test how it is. Unfortunately, we find ourselves in this mess. And this very government, this Tinubu, honestly speaking, I'm highly disappointed. This is the man that they call himself as a Democrat. Look at what they are doing. Look at the way the chief of the staff is saying. So now they are not even ashamed to come out to even say what they are doing. So please come 2027. What we are going to do that we will try our best. We pray to Almighty Allah to help us to remove this government. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I would also read your messages in between your calls. Keep the calls coming in. 0913-600-0410. Opayemi, with this new revelation, so even a ballot paper from Oluyole Business Center will be accepted. With the previous controversies on certificate forgery, this electoral act should be discarded after this election. I'm suspecting that this electoral act came from the Grandmaster to protect himself. That's John Benadoyi from Ijaniki. Well, this is not even a revelation, by the way. This is electoral act. So a lot of us probably have not read it. That's why we think it's a revelation. Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to the show.
Good afternoon. My name is Dominic, calling from Agor.
You're welcome, Mr. Dominic.
Well, I don't have much to say on the discussion on ground. What is there is that if we have a system that the people, I will call it leading, they are willing, so they are practically willing, can be checked. There is nothing you can do, because there is a quote I heard today that don't expect justice where criminals are making the laws. So that's just don't expect justice where criminals are making the laws. So this country, to see it politically working out like being a democratic country is hard to see. They are willing, they are not leading. And for you to be a Democrat, you have
to lead.
You must not rule. So that's it.
Thank you very much. Would also read your messages in between side forward and Opayemi. Excuse me. It is obvious the reason Tinubu was smiling when he was pending his signature on the new amended electoral act. He felt that he has already won the 2027 election. This set of politicians have captured every institution we have. It is left for us to now do away with our docility and rescue our country. Most of them are all repentant in nature. That is James from Agbado. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
You're welcome.
Good afternoon. My name is Bolaji.
You're welcome, Mr. Bolaji.
In fact, Swag has not to blow my mind. So I appreciate that. You see, the presidential definition of democracy in Nigeria is like it is different from what we were taught in school. On what ground is president building our own democracy now? When he's telling us that democracy, in any democracy, oppositions are not welcome. Even people are not welcome here. Because people have mentioned in the definition of democracy that now Magapawa Tinubu has been running government of the airlines, government of district. By the time he repeated this certificate of the district, that is what makes him to sign it as quickly as possible. In fact, like the Fᴜᴜ has said, that when they are jettisoning the Titanic, before were the first people to be jettisoned out of the ship. Look at it. And before now, are even supporting Mr. President and the President is saying it is a game. A game without following the rule. Even a football game, there are rules.
Thank you.
You shouldn't be like that.
Thank you very much. Very clear. Even in football games, there are rules, and that is very, very instructive enough. Our caller from Mushin is texting as well, and it says, Nigerians, go and collect your voters card and let's send the message to these old politicians or we continue to suffer. Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon to you, Okman Afafua. The judiciary is the major nucleus for our present democracy. If they can defend their integrity, the political class will not cajole and infiltrate the democratic process. The APC is not going to be the last political party to be in power. This is Noah from Igondo. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. friend and our
Your name and where are you calling from?
Rotimi is my name.
You're welcome, Mr. Rotimi.
Thank you very much. I get it well. You have God continue to strength and bless and bless the family and Mr. Ophel. You see, when we are talking, they say we talk too much. From the section, I know this government are not going to do anything. I was in a bike, I'm coming from my house on yesterday. I'm coming to my house for Sango. We bothered the bike from Sango to Oshodi. It is only God that said because I'm a this month, I'm in that military officer. We met 3 people. I'm discussing because I used to buy paper almost every week. But on job because now I'm managed to buy paper just 4 times a week, either Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, and Saturday. But when we are telling this government, what they do for us, they nearly kill you. Just 1 man, 2 men, and 1 woman. They said they are waiting for us 2027. That if we come out to vote, then we beat them. They have to start for us. Are you getting me? I don't know how because I said try to enlighten our people because this election will bring me. I was almost 5 years ago. I witnessed 1967 to 1970. The people war, and I know what we went through. I'm a small boy that time. Please begin to enlighten our people because this election will turn to violence and may God continue to war.
Thank you.
Please, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. We continue to play our part in all of this. Louis is texting us and he says, fantastic analysis side for Ōkpeyemi. Have you seen the trending video where Femi Gbajabiamila asked Abejide to scatter the ADC? Isn't this a telling example that the ruling party abhors opposition? And that is the question Louis is asking. Good afternoon to you guys in the studio. This is Alfred from Iju Shaga, and he says, I want to plead with Mr. Far to please take it easy. It hurts, and I know your blood pressure is going up. You spoke so emotionally to the extent that you switched to Yoruba. Sheba Ilamama Balo. It's a shame for our political leaders, but your health is more important, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, Alfred from Iju Shaga. I'm trying to run through some of the messages so that we can pick a lot of our calls and also go on Facebook. Chris, okay, from Ikeja says, good afternoon to Okpa and Super Side Forward. You guys are simply fantastic in your analogies this afternoon. In fact, where do we go from here? Do we need to get our crossroad before we start getting it right? In fact, we need to overhaul our electoral process. If not, we're heading for doom. God would continue to bless you guys as you continue to speak truth to power without mincing words. Look at our faces and not being tribalistic. Looking at faces, not being tribalistic in your analysis. Thank you very much. Chris, okay, from Ikeja. Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Mainland FM.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ophel.
Your name and where you calling from?
Lawa Ashika is my name. I'm calling from Ikeja.
Welcome, Mr. Lawa.
I want to give a special greetings to Professor Emeritus.
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
Sido, that's something I don't know.
Now, straight to the point. You know, Said Fuad has read my mind about this our crop of leaders now. They are already. And you know what? When somebody is overfeeding, definitely it will lead to constipation. According to Yoruba, let me tell you one thing. This crop of politicians, whatever they whip up as weapons against me massive, is going to backfire. It's going to attack them later. That's what I wanted to know. Whatever they do now, it will boomerang. That's what I just want them to know. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining us on the show today. Okay, this is a lengthy one, but I'll try and run through it. James Ogbona from Oshodi says, good afternoon to you. I celebrate both of you professionally. Mr. Fuad, I cannot doubt the possibility of any conspiracy theory in Lagos as regards the coming governorship election. Mr. Okpe, apart from any former governor of Lagos not going to the Senate, let me also ask, has any deputy governor of Lagos ever emerged to become the governor? If the answer is no, then would Hamzat be the fourth? Also, has any former governor of Lagos become a minister after leaving office apart from BRF? Then it explains why President Tinubu wouldn't want any former governor at any time to be greater than him. For the Electoral Act, Mr. Okpe, we didn't miss anything. The politicians were just too smart. They distracted us with the noise of electoral transmission, whereas they had other wicked inputs on the ground. But how come the opposition lawmakers didn't raise the alarm, or were they not giving copies to go through? How many oppositions did we have? By the time we were reviewing the Electoral Act, the APC already had the absolute majority in the Senate and the Reps. So even if the opposition raised, it's a voice vote, and the years would always have it. So it's tough. The Supreme Court, hope the Supreme Court rulings won't be a mere academic exercise, considering the time constraint this case has. A sole presidential candidate is a looming in Nigeria in 2027. It's unfortunate for Babatunde Fasanya from Songota. Hello, good afternoon. Hello,
good afternoon.
You're welcome.
Yeah, Mr. Sama from Green Lake, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Mr. Fuad, continue to give you the wisdom, please.
Good afternoon, sir.
See, if you lie, you speak the truth. Because on the bello, Nigeria, let me even say the fact, in Lagos State now, campaign for APC have already started. That's what happened in my city today. Mr. Fuad, Mr. Okpe, I'm totally confused. I don't know what to do, whether I should go or I should not go, because what is going on now? All of people are still following. You come and say, I'm totally tired. I don't even know what. See, don't blame these politicians. It's we, the followers. I want to match the board. Those who come and see them, my brother. Just come and see them. I don't even know. I'm ashamed of myself. So, in short, come and see them, please. I'm talking of now. Come and see them on my street. That because of the issue of rise, one with cap shouting, hey, so don't blame them now. Leave them. Let them continue. That is the thank you. No matter the truth you said, they will still do it. And you know, they won't listen. That is that. They won't listen. He just would take and will come down. This people will win. They will win and not by Jesus Christ. Sorry, forget about that, my brother.
Thank you very much. Prince from Yanokpaja said, it's only God that will bless both of you for always standing by the truth, even in the face of hates and adversities. Anyone who wishes you guys evil for not supporting evil and oppression lavishing on us as citizens, whatever they wish will get back to them. Okay, you're always exceptional in your dealings. Much respect to both of you. Your ways of addressing issues give us hope, though I feel like weeping listening to you guys. I pray that you live long and fulfill destiny. I must say that both of you are the role models. Keep it up, sirs. That's Prince from Yanokpaja. Thank you for the kind words, Prince. We appreciate you. Ironic. Okay, this is Oluwaseun from Festac. Good afternoon to Mr. Okpe and Mr. Integrity Fuad. Rigging is not a political strategy. Rigging is rigging. Rigging, armed robbery, stealing, kidnappings, those are words that are in the same category. Check again. Your political god is a thief and a petty one. He is your god because you're a mini micro-petitive waiting for your turn. Only one set of people get triggered by this statement. Go get your PVCs and vote wisely. Ironically, they come up to tell themselves that they are patriots. Okay, let's speak more calls, then we'll go on Facebook. Hello, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Okpe.
You're welcome.
Mr. Fuad, well done.
Good afternoon.
Let's call it a spade. Look at what the last caller said. The people themselves are the major problem. We are so better, and the cycle of the people have been worked upon by these politicians. And let's call it a spade. See, the president and not these politicians, even those ones that we are looking at as heroes, the only reason why they are fighting against the one state party is because of their own selfishness too. How many of them are nationalists? So it's only the people that can save themselves. If not, I'm telling you, look at insecurity everywhere. The country is in jeopardy. The country is in shambles. Titanic is sinking. See, there's no remedy. It's only the people. It's only the people themselves. The people that are supposed to serve the country, they are busy collecting rights. Oh my show. Have a good day.
Thank you very much, and also have a beautiful day for yourself. Let's go to Facebook so that we don't forget people from that constituency. We are streaming live, by the way. If you're joining us for the very first time, don't forget, if you go on our page, you can also save or bookmark them, and also don't forget to click and follow us so that you can enjoy our break stories, our headline stories, and of course breaking news as we put them out there for the people. Facebook.com/Mainland 98.3 FM. Falola Olawale Sunday. I'm listening live from Orile Agege. Thank you very much, my friend. Aziz Ademola Monso says, I'm listening live from Shasha Konjo. Okay, thank you also. Tosin Olaluwoye says, I'm listening from Palm Avenue in Mushin. Thank you as well. Obiora Izechuku says, good afternoon to you guys. I always carry my transistor radio from my house to my office every Wednesday just to listen to this program. Unbiased and wonderful program. God should bless you guys. Obiora Izechuku from Akonjo. Thank you. Benjamin Ise says, good afternoon to you guys. God bless you all for all you're saying it as it is. Always as it is. But all we need to do as a people is to work on our institutions and make it stronger than individuals. If this is done, the INEC chairman can vote for a candidate of his choice in election day. It doesn't change anything. It can be partisan. It doesn't matter. Strong institutions will make it difficult for manipulations. As humans, there's always conflict of interest. That is Benjamin from Shugunle. Thank you very much. Adeshola Ogidiolu says, good afternoon to Okpe and Alaji for all what is happening in our democracy and politics play by the Tinubu administration is an eyesore to ordinary Nigerian in the era of technology. APC has got that nothing to be. They have gotten to the stage of nothing to hide again in Nigeria. Most of us are knowledgeable to it now as at before. I didn't get your message well, but I hope I tried with it. James Ogbona says, I celebrate you guys. Okay, I already read your message, on WhatsApp. John Bernard, I already read your message as well. This is architect Dada Didayo, and it says, when the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse or misuse is inevitable. For the president, when we went to Chatham House, he didn't say that is what he would do. Rather, questions given to him was given to Erufai and his musketeers. What does he have in mind is what is displaying now in the nation. That is why we're in this nightmare. If you have done well, why don't you allow the people to decide your fate? But you intentionally want to rig yourself back into power like a failed student who wants to promote himself to another class. Is that possible? All he's doing is to destroy oppositions and compromise all institutions for electoral gains by using Amukpito and other okay. It's a shame that the worst of us is really the best of us. Truly, you said there was a country, but I want to change it to there is a country. Abdul Kabir Jimo, they play politics of money bags. The worst of us are ruling the rest of us instead of serving us. Instead of letting the best to lead us, to serve us with our intellectual ability, we allow money bags to rule us. What a poor giant of Africa. Oluyemi John Akindele on Facebook says, I saw the comment you just talked about and I laughed. Don't mind those hungry and smiling people. Continue with the good work. It is well with you. Taiwo Adewale say, this is an adage and I'm sorry. Aja Ronu Nipakun. I didn't get that. I'm sorry, but Taiwo Adewale, thank you. I got your message on Facebook. Honestly speaking, Paul Biya is loading in Nigeria with what the current president is doing and behaving like the owner of the country. I'm afraid for the future of this country called Nigeria. That is John Benjamin. Okay, Mr. Kwan, Mr. Foto already took this message as well. Sheon JC says, Rigging is not a political strategy. Rigging is rigging. I already took that message also. Babatunde Fasanya says, for a president to have more than 5 different spokespersons or media getting in between, then you should know that failure is personified. Before Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila's confession in full glare of the public, all discerning minds should know that the imprint of the APC is written in the opposition political parties in turmoil. As it is now, the Supreme Court fails to deliver judgment in time. It might be a mere academic exercise considering the time constraint. In 2027, Mr. President will be the sole presidential candidate on the ballot. Isn't that unethical and ridiculous? Okay, let me pick more calls here. Hello, good afternoon. Hello. Ooh. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Benjamin.
Good welcome.
Yeah, the name still remains Prince. All the information this afternoon. You see, number one, when you talk about democracy in this country, the presidential system we are operating today, the mistake happens since 1979. When this constitutional assembly then allow American system of democracy instead of adopting the progressive system democracy we are operating in this country. That is the parliamentary system of government. But the politicians today, I don't put it there. Any government shoot my body, if it is civil, if it is military, I don't have problem with government, but my problem in Nigeria. And the politician, the artisan, the civil servant, is corruption. Everything we are doing this country is not right. It's because of corruption. If everyone can do with this, we are talking of election rigging. Who reach for the politician? The INEC we are talking about, I do not Nigeria. If you are holy, you are honest for your own front, I'm telling you, Nigeria will get better. As it is today, we are talking of ruling government party. You don't want other party to operate. This is very wrong. Alakara keep second all day. That's the problem of Nigerian politicians. It never started today. It starts from fair republic up to date. But what I want Nigeria to know now, all of us, attitudinal change is what we need. Take away corruption in our systems. The government will get better. Without playing to you all.
Thank you very much, Prince Wires. Mr. Fuad. It's a long one. We have to go. I just checked the time now, and I'm seeing that we have about 2 minutes to leave the studio. The president is still assuring Nigerians that he's committed to making our democracy work. He said he's a thoroughbred Democrat and he will go to the grave with that assumptions. And, but the lines are very blurry. And it's not looking like the president is practicing what he's preaching. If the people close to him, a whole chief of staff to the president is telling people that remain in the opposition and destroy the opposition, I can't wrap my head around it. But hey, we've done today's own side forward. Good to have you join us on the show.
Well, thank you for having me, Okwemi.
And as always, it's a pleasure when we do this together every Wednesday. Next week is another day. God willing, God spend our lives. Same station, same time. Mainland 98.3 FM from 1 to 3 p.m. every Wednesday. Next up is The Boss at the Wednesday midweek edition. You can always call in on the show and request for songs of your choice. We'll always have guests as well to entertain you and keep you in a good mood, away from all of the hustle and bustle of politics and stress of Nigeria. And by 4 o'clock, Sage Babalola will be here with a fresh edition of The Situation Room. 5:30 will be Mainland FM Global News, and by 6 I will still come back here alongside my co-host Agbatomi to run you through the world of sport on Sports Cruise. And don't forget that today is shenanigans by 8 p.m. But by 7 there's Global Clusters. So we have so much aligned out for you today. So you have to keep your dial logged on Mainland 98.3 FM. Thank you to everyone that came through with their calls and their messages. Apologies for the ones we couldn't pick. We'll do this again next week Wednesday, God willing. Side for thank you very much once again. My name is Okoyemi Akene. Don't forget, you have to keep this country going. Anyhow, this country would have to work.